Welcome into the GigEm247 Sports Podcast. I am Andrew Hattersley, joined by Brian Perroni. You know, Brian, we were joking last week on the podcast. I don't know if people are going to want to have you back with the run that
Yeah.
Texas A&M was on. Now you come back and Cameron Coleman commits right away. First off, welcome back from your trip. What's your reaction to this Cameron Coleman news and what it kind of means for this class?
Yeah, it's a big one, obviously. I mean, he's the number 11 player in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, no matter what position. But, I mean, he's a guy, he had offers from everybody in the country. He officially visited, where'd he go? LSU, Clemson, and Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn, seemed pretty confident on him, so when he announced for A&M on 4th of July, it seemed like the Auburn board was definitely one to watch. They were completely caught off guard. I think he caught a lot of people off guard. But, I mean, it's a big get because – I think it's showing that Petrino, where it's, A&M fans weren't exactly excited to have Bobby Petrino when he first,
Mm-hmm.
made it on the radar and then he was hired. But I mean, I think it's showing that, kids respect that, they're the wide receiver. I mean, this is the second one in a week. National top 100 kid. Draylen Miller had offers from everybody. And DeBron Gatling was committed, I think, before Petrino, maybe a little after.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had offers from all over the country too. So, I mean, this is, receiver is one position that has been lacking. Last year, Moose Muhammad had his breakout, and then obviously Evan Stewart's a star. But, they really haven't had the play there. But this is, these three guys coming in, they have a chance to be really good and sort of just change things around. A&M has struggled to get the ball downfield. Now there's a new OC, some exciting receivers coming in. So, I mean, it's really big both from a need standpoint and a momentum standpoint. I mean, everybody's talking about Texas A&M now.
No doubt. And you've got, I mean, not long after his commitment, I had folks hitting me up, can you jump on the radio to talk about Texas A&M recruiting, Jimbo Fisher, all this, and Jalen Hornsby too. He commits on Saturday, probably scared Texas A&M fans a little bit, putting on a Penn State hat and then tossing it to the side to put on that A&M hat. You're right. I mean, this wide receiver room has come together with 3 commitments in the past couple of weeks. Bobby Petrino, I think a lot of people are kind of a believer, and Eric Carner too. He's been part of this run too, a 4-star tight end that had plenty of interest from Iowa, some other schools in the Big Ten, and was committed to Purdue previously, and joins this class. And so I think I'm with you on that. That a lot of people are big believers. Credit to Cam Coleman. Talking to some people around him, he really wanted to keep this quiet. He wanted to keep a little element of surprise to this, and there was some thought that he might wait. What other schools were in his recruitment were kind of doing during the fall. What was A&M going to do with Bobby Petrino? What was Auburn going to look like under Hugh Freeze? What was Clemson going to look like in their new offense? But he went ahead and did it on the 4th of July and kind of sends shockwaves now. And you're right. It just gives A&M so much momentum. This was one, I think, this and Draylen Miller will give them a jolt into the rest of July that I think will kind of reverberate with a lot of other recruits.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, I put out an article on Wednesday about, A&M going to the top 10. A month ago, A&M had 6 commitments, and I think was maybe inside the top 50, but barely. And now, it really, I think it just took me going out of town. If the bosses are listening, fans are totally okay, I think, with paying me, but just sending me on PTO all the time now. But yeah, I mean, it really, what I left on last Saturday, and just since then, it's just been sort of a snowball and avalanche. I mean,
Weston Davis started it.
Yeah. Weston Davis, who, he had told me that, he said he was really feeling LSU even before the visit. He went there, and then, you saw some predictions come in for him to LSU, and then he just committed to A&M. And Draylen Miller is friends with them. Anthony Smith, who USC thought they had in the bag. I mean, A&M's got a ton of momentum right now. And like I said, Steve Wilfong wrote a story today about, 4th of July commitments. There were a bunch yesterday. And, the lead was A&M. I think we're going to see the lead being A&M on a lot of guys. I mean, one of the top uncommitted players in the country is Terry Bussey, 5-star athlete from East Texas. And, he's close to Draylen Miller and those guys. And A&M has a lot of momentum there. So if they're able to get him in the boat this summer too, or even, this month or even in the next, week or two, which is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, that's even more momentum. And that's sort of prices. You can't really buy that. You could, you can do whatever you can to land a recruit, but just all this momentum at once, it's causing other kids to say, hey, looking around, maybe I need on board. What's going on over there in College Station? So, yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, you mentioned Terry Bussey. Obviously, he's a guy that when I first kind of talked to him during the spring, he said, "Oh, maybe I'm going to wait until the beginning of the fall and cut my list down and kind of go from there." He ended up cutting it down middle of the summer now, and told Steve Wilfong maybe by the end of the summer could have a decision before his senior year, which would obviously be a little bit more of an accelerated timeline. You're right. I mean, I just look at where A&M is this time coming out of June as opposed to where we kind of were last summer. Jimbo Fisher went to SEC Media Days, and there were a lot of questions about, hey, are you concerned about where the class is? How do you get momentum going? This year, he's going to head into SEC Media Days with a top 10 class coming off a really, really strong June, and a lot of kids are going to take note of that. And Cam Coleman's one, and I think the big thing with him, credit to Tommy Robinson, who kind of first extended that offer. That was obviously
Tommy
area.
Robinson is from Phoenix City, so he's got some ties there.
Coach there, had some ties there, put an offer on the table for him and Jaden Coleman. And A&M was Cameron Coleman's first offer, and I think that really kind of set the table for this to, get in there early and be able to start building that relationship with him. Auburn offered right after that, but the fact A&M was able to be that first one, get him on campus for a camp. He's obviously got family in Texas as well, so there's a comfort level there as well. I think that played a huge role in this that maybe people don't necessarily know about.
Yeah, and then you have his position coach is also from the state of Alabama in Damian Craig, and
yep.
I guess you and I looked at the Auburn boards a little bit. I know a lot of A&M fans have looked at the Auburn boards, and I mean it's just it's their it's he's like the prodigal son now. Is left played for Auburn and now is just recruiting against them and landing kids against them. They're not big fans of Damian Craig. It'd be like Dat Wynn's been in the news with this documentary and all that. It'd be like if Dat Wynn went somewhere and kept landing kids from Texas, over Texas A&M, not exactly an ideal scenario. It's like, do you root for the guy that you spent 4 years rooting for on the field, or or do you curse him? What do you do?
It's kind of been a thorn in their side. And even I was doing a radio hit this morning, and they were saying, man, Jimbo Fisher and Damian Craig, both have ties to the state and continue to come in. And they talked about Jameis Winston as well, obviously being from the state. And Damian Craig was certainly having a lot of fun on social media. This was a big one for him, and it's been a big couple of weeks. You mentioned Draylon Miller and Ty Anthony Smith. Obviously, you were out for those two. What you had been pretty close in both of those recruitments. What do you think about the job A&M was able to do to land both of those guys that you mentioned a couple weeks ago were probably trending towards USC, and USC had a lot of the buzz for those guys. LSU was in the mix as well. Just what do you think about the job they were able to do to get those two guys in the fold?
Well, so Draylon Miller, great job. That one is, area recruiter, BGA, Brian Gross, Sarmiento. He got to be real close with Draylon Miller's family. Did a really, really good job there. He was also, the point man on Weston Davis for that area. And did a really good job of, hey, this is, we want your kid, we want your grandson. We want these people, and just feeling like family. And it's not a fake thing. I think A&M fans are really going to like him. He's a good recruiter, but also a good dude, and I think people are going to see that. So yeah, I think he worked really hard there. And yeah, those guys took visits to other places, to USC and LSU and whatever, and it causes you to look around a little bit, maybe see some stars, but A&M was really the constant in both of those. I did think Ty Anthony Smith was the more likely to go to USC. I mean, I think USC. I don't know what happened with Jordan Lockhart. I think Jordan Lockhart would have ended up at A&M anyway, but I think USC maybe felt good about Ty Anthony, so they they didn't push as hard for Jordan Lockhart, and so now A&M getting both of them. I mean, that's a big blow to the Trojans, and then they thought they had Draylon Miller. I mean, Auburn's hating A&M right now. USC is definitely, because I think there were some others that they had USC up there that are in the boat. Just not big fans of the Aggies right now. And they those two guys, Draylon Miller, A&M talked to him about sort of that Anais Smith role, especially more that Anais played as like a freshman and sophomore, lining up in the backfield a lot, doing a bunch of things. And I mean, he's a big kid. when I first saw him play, I thought, that could be a future linebacker. And I've heard other coaches say that, like, this kid could be an elite linebacker. He's a big kid, but, he runs incredibly well. So putting him in the backfield, I mean, that's, he's not going to have a problem even if they ask him to run between the tackles. And then you just get him the ball in space and he's incredibly fast. I mean, he was just so much fun to watch in space, just making kids miss, like stopping on a dime. I mean, I think my phone ran out of battery when I was watching them play in the playoffs, because just like I was trying to share every like crazy play that he made, and there were just too many of them.
He's a human highlight reel. There's no doubt about that. And just what he's able to do. He's, as I've mentioned, he's gone to state 7-on-7 2 years in a row and basically been one of the best players there, if not the best player at both years. So he's, what he's been able to do is extremely impressive. And you mentioned Anthony Smith as well. You look at this linebacker and wide receiver room now. Linebacker, maybe room for one more spot, maybe to finish it all out. Tylen Singleton, Xavier Atkins, they can kind of shoot for the stars there. And if they want to add another wide receiver, Jelani Watkins, Ernest Campbell, maybe look for one of those kind of specialty speed guys, one of those guys that they can kind of use in a couple different spots. I know Ernest Campbell has said he planned to be back for the pool party as well. Jelani Watkins had A&M in his top 4. The linebacker room, especially though, A&M is in as strong a spot as I can remember in a while in that position. When you look at Jordan Lockhart, you look at Anthony Smith, you've got Tristan Jernigan in the fold as well. You're really in a really, really nice spot there and can kind of look to just close out that room.
Yeah, I mean, the linebacker, it was only seemingly a few months ago that they were left to 2 or 3 on the roster. And, they added Torian York late, Chance Johnson late, got Damian Sanford in on campus. And now, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's the room on campus is still not ideal. You'd still like some depth, but this certainly helps these 3 guys. I mean, Tristan Jernigan's a really good player, and he's the lowest ranked of the 3, but he's a guy that people should not sleep on. I mean, A&M went out of state to get him in the state of Mississippi, but they really like him, and for good reason. I mean, he's a really good player. Can play Mike or Will. Really just line up at either of the spots and do a lot of things. So yeah, the linebacker room is you got to say Durkin's probably pretty happy now. It was not exactly a happy camper. Santucci left, and then it's just Durkin's all of a sudden inherited a position with no depth, and now things are looking a lot better.
He's built that thing up in a hurry, and there's no doubt A&M certainly got a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail heading into SEC Media Days. Like we mentioned, we will certainly be there to have you guys cover. Thanks again for tuning in to join us today, and be sure to stay locked in on GigEm247 as we head into the back half of summer. It's a dead period. It's summer workouts right now, but there is still a lot going on, and the last week is definitely a reminder of that. So be sure to like and share this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you're listening on the podcast, and have a great rest of your week. I'm sure it's a great start to the week, and we will be back to join you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.